It's Hoodie Church here at Trinity Place in Geneva, New York, where it's sunny outside, but also pretty doggone cold. My name is Cameron Miller, and this is a reflection on the seventh Sunday of Epiphany. And I'm going to be brutally honest with you. This sermon I'm about to share with you feels to me like yelling into a stiff wind over the Grand Canyon. It's not that I think that you don't care or that you'll be belligerent. It's more that I know myself, and I know how frequently I turn my back on what I know, even though I know it to be true. It's like Maria Howe's poem that we have today about the earnest intention to pray or to be a good prayer. Help me, God. Even as I write these words, I'm planning to rise from the chair as soon as I finish this sentence. We know what we need to know, and we have the capacity to do it in order to act. And yet, we know we have not, and we do not, and we will not. Arr! It's like climate change. We know what we're doing, and we know that we should change, but we're not about to and not likely that we will, at least not in time. But here I go anyway, because this is my job. It's who I am. I also happen to believe it's true, even if I turn my back on it regularly. So this passage from Luke leads us to the very heart of the Christian dilemma, because it tells us what we know, even though we know that we won't do it. The dilemma is that will we really spend the currency of our lives in the economy of God, when what we know and trust is the economy of self-preservation? See that dilemma right there? The economy of God and the economy of self-preservation. That's our dilemma. Because the central figure of our religion, an itinerant, illiterate, dispossessed holy man, insists that we reverse our long-nurtured impulse toward natural selection. It's a basic conflict of interest between how we choose to live our lives and how Jesus urged us to live our lives. Do to others what you would want them to do to you. In other words, love them by doing good toward them, especially ones who hate you. Loving them is not just refraining from smacking them or from spreading gossip about them. No, restraint is not the loving that Jesus is talking about. Jesus says, be proactive, man. Do good. Do good to them. Do something you wish someone would do for you. That kind of loving. Oh, and by the way, lend your money and your stuff without expecting anything in return. Help me, God. Even as I write these words, I'm planning to rise up from the chair as soon as I finish this sentence. Here's some more of the Bitcoin we're supposed to spend in the economy of God. God is kind to both the ungrateful and the wicked. So be merciful, just like God is merciful. How? Do not judge, and you will not be judged. Do not condemn, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you'll be forgiven. Give, and it'll be given to you. Help me, God. Even as I write these words, I'm planning to rise from the chair as soon as I finish this sentence. Just to be really clear about Jesus and the economy of God, he concludes with this: the measure you give will be the measure you get. Wow. I'm sure that I do not have to tell you that the economy of God is a metaphor for the kingdom of God, that Jesus says that we're to create here on earth as it is in heaven. And that means, of course, its counterpart is the economy of self-preservation, which is a metaphor for the economic culture of consumerism that we have built and live in. So the heart of Jesus' wisdom is in blaring dissonance with what we believe is our self-interest. Unlike our economy, the benefits of spending our lives as the currency in the kingdom of God is not measurable with a cost-benefit formula. We measure benefit and reward by productivity, profit margins, bottom line. God's economy trades on risk, on generosity, on abundance. Now, here's where I'm going to go out on a limb. While you and I rarely exchange the currency of our lives as if in the economy of God, I do believe that you and I know, deep down in our bones, that it is both better than our economy and it's doable. No, really, it's doable. Here's what I mean. We know that it's doable because we've experienced it. We know that love creates love. We know it. We've done it. We have witnessed and been healed by it. That love creates love. The fact that love creates love means that there is no scarcity of love, only abundance. Even more than that, loving our enemy frees us from the debilitating burden of hatred and resentment. We know that because we've experienced it. It's a fact. It is a fact. And we're the data point. So the willful choice to love someone who we could just as easily hate actually heals our woundedness and generates a greater capacity to love. Now, that's not pie in the sky, some nice sentiment, because it's a fact. Love creates more love, and loving an enemy liberates us. We've experienced that. I know that you have. I have. Maybe not a lot, but we have it as a fact in our lives, so that we are the data point. Now, in our economy of self-interest, a self-generating commodity that had an ever-increasing capacity to produce more, a self-generating resource, in other words, well, that would be of value beyond gold or Bitcoin. Then there is the fact that forgiveness attracts forgiveness, in the same way that cells attract each other in the presence of forming life. Forgiving someone else generates within the forgiver a greater capacity to forgive him or herself. Forgiving somebody generates within the forgiver a greater capacity to forgive him or herself. So without any other self-improvement whatsoever, the simple act of forgiving somebody else improves how we feel about ourselves. That's an amazing characteristic and valuable beyond scale. Like love, forgiveness is absolutely synergistic. The willful choice to forgive someone who it would seem more easy to just continue to resent conditions the spiritual muscles we need to more deeply accept ourselves. This is all in Jesus' speech, by the way. But it's kind of funny to think about this treasure of forgiveness in our economy. Such a radical self-acceptance that forgiveness leads to would sound the death knell for whole industries and marketing programs that prey upon and promote self-doubt and self-hatred. Again, looking down the denominations of the currency and the economy of God that Jesus talks about in his speech there, we come upon mercy. Jesus says mercy also spawns mercy. And the reason is that mercy kind of melts away our drive to be right. And mercy does it with a kind of warmth of kindness. By the willful choice to be merciful, when we could just as easily demand fairness or distributive justice, we're freed to enjoy the sensation of kindness. If we do not have to figure out how the good guys and the bad guys are all going to get what's coming to them in the end, if we don't have to worry about that, then we get liberated from a ton of yucky stuff that builds up on our heart and soul. And how lovely is that? So lastly, on this list is generosity. And we know all about generosity because we choose it sometimes. We know that generosity ignites more generosity, just like love creates more love and forgiveness begets self-acceptance. The risk to stop clutching what we own empowers the disillusion of anxiety. The willful choice to let go or give away when we could just as easily clutch and hoard actually increases our generosity, which at the same time reduces our anxiety. Wow. You've been there. I know you have. You've experienced it. I know that you have. The impulse toward generosity, when we embrace it, produces an almost miraculous effect of igniting a sense of more generosity when only moments before we had this sense of scarcity. In our economy, if unleashed, the power of generosity would transform that barren divide between the haves and the have-nots into a field of dreams. Help me, God. Even as I write these words, I'm planning to rise up from the chair as soon as I finish this sentence. You see the dilemma as well as I do. The central figure of our religion, this itinerant, illiterate, dispossessed holy man, talks as if you and I can reverse the long-nurtured impulse of natural selection. We know. We do. We know that what he says is true because small moments in our own experience serve as the data points. Jesus' list of tough love is tough because it's aimed at our enemy and those we hate as well as those we love. Do good. Do not judge, do not condemn. Forgive. If we do, it'll generate riches for us. Wow. Now we know that as a fact. We are the data that proves it. And those few times and occasions where we do it, when we've chosen it, we know it's true. So why do I feel like I'm shouting into the wind over the Grand Canyon? Help us, God. Even as we contemplate these words, we're reaching for reasons they're not true, rationalizing other choices in the economy of self-preservation so we don't have to go along with the preacher, finding ways to walk away before Cam finishes the sentence. I'm with you. I'm ahead of you. The crazy thing, of course, is that what Jesus told us is in fact true, are in fact facts about the nature of life as we could live it, about the nature of the kingdom that we could create. We know every one of these crazy ideas is true, is a fact, because we've done them before, at least once. Okay, I'm done. Peace be with you.